KOR Sports right here with Rudy Hernandez, cutman extraordinaire, UFC boxers. Everyone hit him up on Instagram. Tell me, man, what's the latest, man? What are you up to?
Well, you know, I got called last week to see if I could work with Mickey Roman. So I said, sure, why not? And we're starting to work out today.
Tell me about this fight, man. You're going to be his cut man? You're going to be his trainer? What's happening?
I'm going to be both, but they don't know that yet. Anyway, and I think it's a great fight for the public. I think it's going to. I'm almost sure that we'll win over a few more fans for boxing, and I think it's a fight that everyone should stay tuned. And I can honestly say probably we'll get a fight of the year candidate.
I was going to say, when I first heard about this fight, the styles are definitely can't miss. These guys are gonna go at each other, you know, from the opening bell, I feel. And I think kind of the contrast to that, the other fight, you know, on ESPN that night, Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux, I feel is more of a boxing purist type matchup. I mean, how do you see that Lomachenko-Rigondeaux playing it?
I like Lomachenko in that fight. I think that the size and the youth is it's on his side, and I think it's a really good boxing match. You have on one side you have a really good boxing match, and then on the other side you have a good fight. So it's, you know, both. Man, it's just boxing is going to win, you know, regardless of which fight you watch.
Definitely, man. I want to ask you. I want to say last time we spoke, you had talked to Robert Garcia about. You kind of was the bird in his ear about Garcia fighting Cotto. That ended up not kind of panning out. What was your kind of thoughts on that? Like the, you know, Golden Boy and him not being able to kind of get it together for that fight.
I don't know. I have no idea what their details were. Just pretty much what's been written about it. You know, maybe they wanted a little bit more than what he was willing to give up. And at the end of the day, I think everybody has to look out for their best interests, and so be it. You know, it would have been great. I think it would have been a great fight for both of them. I think Mikey Garcia moving up to fight at a junior middleweight, and then Cotto, you know, being that this will be his, hopefully it will be his last fight, and he retires. I think that this is just two great human beings fighting each other that are deserving of making a good payday.
A couple of fights, man, that happened since the last time I spoke to you. I want to talk to you about. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez lost his rematch against Sor Rungvisai. It was a bad knockout. I know you were close to him. You know, have you spoken to him? Kind of, what's his mindset? Is he planning on coming back? What's going to move up, move down in weight? What's kind of the latest with Roman?
My understanding is that he's not retiring, and then he'll be coming back to fight. I think he'll be coming back to the super flyweight division again, and maybe he'll fight another champion or another contender within the division. I think that, you know, like most fighters, they always want to go out winners. And, you know, when you've been on top of the game as long as he has, you know, the last thing you want to do is finish with a defeat. But I also believe that fighters are fighters, you know, day in and day out. And I think it's still his time. I think he has one or two more fights left in him. And he's got to... You know, because this is his job, and once he retires, he should be able to retire as a 65, 70-year-old man would if he had another job.
I feel like are these guys maybe too big? Because he was very dominant, you know, at 112 and 108, and like, do you feel maybe 115? These guys maybe just come up from too big of a weight that you know, maybe his power doesn't have the same effect as it did at 112 and 108?
I think a lot has to do with also his age and where he's at and how many fights he's had, all the trainings and training camps that he's encountered. I mean, it all plays a role. But also, I have a hard time understanding why people don't understand that he didn't lose to just anybody. He lost to a guy who's like, 44 wins, 41 wins by knockout, and he's a great fighter as well. So, you know, he didn't lose to just anybody. He lost to a guy who was just as hungry, who was bigger and better that night than he was.
The fight that's supposed to be happening after that is Sor Rungvisai versus Gallo Estrada. Gallo Estrada beat Carlos Cuadros, that night. How do you see that matchup playing?
I think it's a great fight for boxing again. And I'm hoping that they fight in the States, and that it's either televised by HBO. I like to see that fight, and I think it's a great fight. And Rungvisai is the guy to beat. I think Inoue is the number 1 in the division, and Rungvisai is the number 2, and everybody else falls. Can be placed anywhere in the top 10 after that. But those are the guys to beat in the division.
I definitely agree.